So the Season 3 update is officially brought back all of our favourite guns into Warzone, and this video is going to go over what are the 5 best loadouts you need right now. This video is not going to waste 40 minutes of your time. We're going to get through this as quickly as we can so you can get straight back into grinding. There's a lot of guns to level up. But right now we want to show you this recoil plot, which is basically going to show you what the recoil plots were before and after. So this is from Warzone 1 and now into this new version of Warzone that we have. Now just keep in mind that these recoil plots are taken from slightly different distances each time. I've tried to zoom it in as much as I can to try and get it correct to match up for the older versions, which are at the top. And at the bottom we have all the new guns. So as you can see here, when it comes to the Grau, it's a vertical straight line more or less, and that is replicated with the new gun as well, which is good to see. When it comes to the AMAX, it was a bit more spread, but this was taken at a slightly further range, to be honest. So the spread would be a bit closer to what we have at the bottom if it was taken at roughly the same range. And then when it comes to the kilo, it's pretty much almost identical. It looks like it has a bit more vertical recoil, but regardless of that, the recoil plots for all 3 of these weapons look almost identical to what we had back in Warzone 1, so they do feel the same. Before I get into all the loadout builds, I do want to quickly just mention another really important point here, which is to do with bullet velocities. So if you look above the camera at the moment, you can see the bullet velocity, and this is just for the AMAX. Because the AMAX, if you didn't know, was the slowest bullet velocity one of all these new weapons that they've added. Obviously the snipers are going to be higher, but the AMAX was sitting at around 990 bullet velocity, around about that, back in Warzone 1. And even with a very good build, you can get this to 1200. Is above 1200 actually, but you can actually get this even higher if you change some of the attachments around, which is pretty ridiculous if you think about it. So bullet velocities now on assault rifles, especially the new ones or the brought back ones, is really good now. So that is what we do like to see. So it pretty much matches what we had in Warzone 1. Let's get on into the actual loadouts now. So when it comes to the AMAX, this is my personal favorite build. So you want to use the Willis 3x optic, but you can choose whatever optic you like. That is definitely personal preference, especially in this game. But the Willis 3x is the closest to that VLK that we had back in Warzone 1. When it comes to suppressors, now of course you can go monolithic now, because we do have the monolithic suppressor back in Warzone. But also a really good option is the compensator, because it helps with vertical recoil, and with a gun like the AMAX now, this is actually a very good attachment choice if you don't care to be suppressed. So it's really going to come down to whether you want to be suppressed or not. So those are your 2 options, compensator or monolithic suppressor. Just for the OG feel, I'm going for the monolithic. Then when it comes to the barrel, now as much as you might want to choose the long barrel, because that does look like what we had back in Warzone 1, the reinforced barrel or the gain twist barrel are the 2 best options here. So the gain twist gives you maximum bullet velocity, but the reinforced barrel does also extend out your damage range. But like I said, you're still going to get that over 1200 bullet velocity anyway, so it's still a really good choice, and you don't really have to go for the gain twist unless you really need it. When it comes to underbarrel grips, there's no other option than the vertical foregrip, and this is going to go across all of our assault rifles, because this is the best underbarrel grip right now, because it helps with horizontal control, and it's pretty much the only thing that helps with horizontal control. And then lastly, you've got the extended mags 1, but you could also go for the extended mags 2, which is a seriously good option, by the way. And that's a 60 round mag. Now this gun doesn't feel super damagey compared to what it did inside Warzone 1, so you can definitely go for 60 rounds if you feel like you need it. I think 45 rounds is still pretty respectable, to be honest, and it doesn't slow down your movement too much. This is my personal favorite build, but you've got the 2 options there anyway. When it comes to SMGs, the best option right now is the C9, and they've obviously done that on purpose so that we can get the kind of OG loadouts back with the MP5. When it comes to the muzzle, 2 options here. You've got the suppressor or the compensator. I would not recommend the monolithic here, and the reason for that is because it's going to slow down the aim down sight speed, and on an SMG you don't want that con. So either the standard compensator if you need the recoil control, or the suppressor if you'd rather stay off the minimap. Obviously you need to pick one or the other. Vertical foregrip once again, or you can go for the Ranger foregrip, which is the one that I would personally go for. It gives you a bit less horizontal control, but it gives you sprinting speed, which obviously you do need in this game to move around a lot quicker, since it did nerf some of the movement in this game, by the way, if you didn't already know. Then when it comes to the mags, you've got your 2 options here. You've either got the 40 round mag, and you've also got the extended mags too, but also there will be the 30 round conversion kit coming later on in this season. But like I said, those are the two options for now. I'm going with the 50. I just like having more bullets on an SMG because you're always close range. Quick draw grip is going to help when it comes to aim down sight speeds. You can also go for something that's going to give you a bit more in terms of jumping, aim down sight, and the commando or ergonomic grips if that's your preference. I just prefer the quick draw, but any of the grips are definitely going to be useful on SMGs. And then lastly, no stock is definitely going to give us the fastest possible movement. Next up, we've got the Kilo 141, and this one you can unlock straight away by just logging into the game. So this is the one that you should be leveling up first, essentially, because it's the one that you get straight away. And it's still going to be a really powerful gun in this game, as we've shown the recoil pattern, and also the bullet velocity on this one is over the 1200 as well. So while it's 3 times optic, once again, because this is my personal favorite, but again, you can choose whatever one you like. This is the closest to that VLK feel, and that is why I've picked it. Then when we come to suppressors here, again, you can go compensator, but this one you probably want to go monolithic because the recoil is pretty much non-existent on this gun anyway. So monolithic suppressor, stay off the mini map, get the extra bullet velocity, good stuff there. Then you can either go the reinforced barrel or again the gain twist. It just depends on if you want that extra bullet velocity or not. I don't think it's really necessary. I think they went overkill with the bullet velocity on this, but I'd rather them go overkill and then dial it back. So reinforced barrel for now because it gives you the extra damage range as well, and you could definitely benefit from the extra damage on the Kilo. Then we've got the vertical foregrip once again. This is the only grip you need to be using on assault rifles, by the way. And then lastly, we have the mags, which is a 60 round extended mags 2. The extended mags 1 is a 50 round, so obviously you want to try and get the extra 10 bullets. Now we're pairing this with the PPSH. Now this is by no means the most powerful SMG in the game, it's just the most consistent across all ranges when it comes to dealing damage. And you do want to be using the compensator here, and this is going to help with vertical recoil control, or you can go standard suppressor if you want to stay off the minimap. Then we are going long barrel here because it gives you extra damage range, because there's not really any other attachments that are really going to help you unless you really want to get the recoil control with the recoil springs as well. So that's another option you could swap that out for. Then we're doing the Ranger grip again for the horizontal control and the sprinting movement speed. Then we're doing the extended mags 2, and you can also go extended mags 1 as well if you want for 45 rounds. And then lastly, we've got the light stock here, which will help with more movement speed. Next up, we've got our boy man is back. The Grau is back, and unfortunately is not its own gun, which is the only annoying thing about this. But we've got the Grau 556 to some extent back in Warzone with the super clean iron sights and all that good stuff. So right now, we've got the conversion kit, which is the Grau SWAT conversion kit, which is what you need to make this a full auto gun. This is a marksman rifle, by the way, inside the Black Ops 6 category. So you need to pick the SWAT 556, then the Grau conversion kit. Then you also need to pick the 50 round full auto extended mags. The annoying thing is the 60 round mags and the other mags as well, you cannot use whilst having the Grau conversion kit. A bit strange, to be honest. But regardless, this is how we need to use it for now. 50 rounds is all we're going to get. Quick draw grip, which is again my personal favorite from the aim down sight, but again you can pick a slightly different one if you want faster sprint to fire, but I think quick draw for assault rifles is definitely the best option. Then vertical foregrip once again as usual, and this time you want to go monolithic. You can still go compensator because the recoil on the Grau is only vertical anyway, so helping that out will definitely work. But it's super low recoil anyway, so I think it really makes more sense to stay suppressed and go for the monolithic. Again, the Grau has got over 1200 bullet velocity as well on this build, so again, nothing to worry about in that aspect. We're pairing this with the Saug, which is going to be my personal favorite SMG to use right now. And it did get a buff, so it's hopefully going to feel more like a Mac 10. I really just want a Mac 10 inside Warzone, if I'm being perfectly honest. Let me know in the comments if you want a Mac 10 back in this game. That was my favorite SMG, like, of all time. And when it comes to the rate of fire, I do want to point this out. It is over 909 rounds per minute, and that's important because we are using the largest mags available. And this actually got a damage buff, by the way, as well with the most recent update, so it's actually going to do a lot more damage and feel hopefully a lot closer to a Mac 10. We've got the standard compensator on there as well for the vertical control. You can also go standard suppressor. Both are really good options. Ranger foregrip once again for the movement and the recoil control. Extended mags, like I said. Quick draw grip, I just like the faster ADS that you get, the fastest possible ADS you can get. You can also go for something else that's going to help with sprint to fire or dive speeds, but personally I'm a sprint to fire guy, or a aim down sight guy should I say. Then we're going for the balance stock, which is going to help the most with movement speed. You'd think that the infiltrator is going to do that since it looks like a no stock, but it's not really. Sniping's officially back inside Warzone, and that is extremely good to say, man, and it's all thanks to the HDR, which we now have back. Now, bullet velocity on this thing is 1,200 as well. I think it's really important to point that out on sniper rifles. And this thing one-shot headshots out to infinity range. Now, I'm not even a big sniper, and I actually kind of hate snipers to some extent, but it's good to know that people are having fun when they're playing this game, and having a good sniper back is good to see, even when I don't really use them all that often. Bladwell 7x scope is just because it's a cleaner optic. You can just choose the basic one if you really want, to be honest, and then you can use that attachment slot elsewhere. That's perfectly up to you. I just like that optic. I think it's a bit cleaner. Monolithic, always, because we're getting better bullet velocity with this one, so you want to choose the monolithic on all your sniper rifles. Then we're using the gain twist barrel. The gain twist barrel is going to help us with the bullet velocity, and it's got the maximum bullet velocity. Then we're choosing the quick draw grip for aim down sight speeds, because we want to have this gun be as snappy as we can possibly make it, hopefully. And then lastly, we've got overpressured for, again, more bullet velocity, because we want to get this the max bullet velocity we can. To pair this with, we've got what is probably one of the best sniper supports in the entire game right now, especially after the buff. It is super strong in terms of TTK at every range, and you just want to control the recoil of this thing and use it at kind of close to medium range. And when it comes to the optic, we're using the cleanest optic we can find, and you can choose that at your preference. You can also use the irons if you really want. I don't think that would work too well, to be honest. Then we're using the compensator. You can also go monolithic in this case if you really wanted to, but I think the compensator helps more recoil on this gun, especially just because we're not using any barrels and things. We are using the vertical foregrip, and the reason for that, again, for recoil control. You can actually go ranger as well, which I think would be a slightly better option, because this could be a more of a movement based build. And then we've got the extended mags 1. Again, this is a movement based build, so sniper support, not a long range assault rifle. So we don't want extended mags 2. Extended mags 1 is good enough, and this thing outputs tons of damage, so you don't really need that. You can also go for the quick draw grip as well for faster aim down sight speeds. If you're still struggling with recoil on this gun, you can go for recoil springs as well on top of that. So you can swap the quick draw for the recoil springs, and that will help out a little bit more. But I think this is the best version of this build, especially for sniper support. Next up, we've got the second best sniper in the game, and that feels good to say, to be honest, because I really enjoyed using this one back in Warzone 1. And the reason for it being really good now, especially after the update, and that is due to the damage buff that I got, and it's now basically a 2-shot kill at pretty much every range, as long as you're landing like upper body shots, more or less. So as long as you're landing like a stomach and above, you're pretty much getting a 2-shot every single time. So if you get one like upper body shot and one limb shot, you're going to get a 2-shot kill, which, to be fair, is very impressive for a gun like this. So basically, when it comes to the build, you want to use the range Caller 3.4 optic. This is the kind of Car 98 optic with the arrow on it. Spitfire suppressor is going to help the most with bullet velocity. We do need it on this gun because there's no monolithic available for this. This is a Modern Warfare 3 gun, not a Black Ops 6 gun. And then we are using the long barrel, and that's the one, again, that gives you the best possible bullet velocity. We are using the OLE laser for aiming stability and aim down sight speeds, because, again, we want to try and quick scope with this gun as much as we can. And then we're using high velocity. Don't be confused with high grain rounds, because that gives you damage range and bullet velocity. Is the one that only gives you bullet velocity is the one we're looking to use here, because then we're going to get it to 983 meters per second. Not the best bullet velocity in the game at all, to be honest, but it's definitely respectable and good enough. And we're pairing this with what I believe to be the best sniper support in this game right now, and also just one of the best SMGs in this game right now. And that is the Jackal PDW, man. This gun is good at pretty much every range you could throw at it, obviously, besides like super far range, of course. That would be stupid to use it there. But when it comes to the muzzle, you want to use the compensator. You could use standard suppressor, or you could even go monolithic, because you are going more sniper support with this. So that is going to come down to your preference. I still just prefer the compensator. I think it makes most sense without conning too much of your movement speeds. Then we are going reinforced for the bullet velocity and the damage range. You can also just go full bullet velocity with this as well, but I think the extra damage range definitely helps with this gun. Range of foregrip for the recoil control and movement. You could go vertical, but I just like still having movement in my guns, even if it's going to be a sniper support. Biggest mags possible, because we do need it, because this is going to be your kind of primary weapon essentially. And then the balanced stock. Now you can remove the balanced stock. This is my personal preference because it's a movement based build still. And either attach an optic if you want that to help out range, or if you want to put on the recoil springs to help out more with recoil. Now all of those options are kind of good, but I just like having still movement. So there we have it. Those are our 5 best loadouts for Warzone and Verdansk. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like, as we're going to try and make more Warzone content, hopefully, if this game ends up turning out to be amazing again, and we will return back to Warzone making full-time content here. But if you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.